The Blueprint Mindset. This episode, My Life, Your Entertainment, the Power of Story in Sales.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Mindset. Today I'm joined by Abraham Gardner, a man known to be a master of sales, mindset, and storytelling. Abe, you recently dropped a phrase that made me think a minute. My life, your entertainment. What does that really mean for someone who's in sales, trying to close more deals?
Hey, Mike, glad to be here. That phrase sums up a truth too many salespeople overlook. And it's not just that people watch you, they're watching your life as a form of entertainment, but more than that, as a source of hope. When they watch you, they're looking for signs that someone like them, someone with their struggles, has found a way through. And if you're in sales, this means your life is your strongest asset. Your story is the most powerful thing you bring to the table.
That flips the script on the traditional sales approach, doesn't it? Because most folks think selling is all about features, benefits, and the pitch. But you're saying the real secret sauce is something deeper, something personal.
Exactly. Look, buyers aren't just buying what you sell, they're buying why you sell it and how your life has changed because of it. Let's face it, everyone wants the same things. They want to feel seen, appreciated, and understood. They want to believe there's a way out of their struggle. And your story can be the light that shows them the way.
So, how do you shift your mindset to get to that level? How does a salesperson start living in a way that truly becomes proof for others?
It starts with honesty. You got to own your journey. Not the highlight reel, but the raw, real parts, the struggles, the setbacks, the moments you wanted to quit but didn't. And when you share that, you humanize yourself. You move from being just a salesperson to being a trusted guide. And here's the key, that trust is the currency that moves a sale from maybe to yes.
I hear you. But some might say it's risky to be so open. What if the story makes you too vulnerable?
That's the magic, Mike. Vulnerability is strength. When you show your scars, you invite people to lower their guard. They stop seeing you as a pushy salesperson and start seeing you as someone who's walked a similar path. That connection is priceless, and it's what separates average salespeople from legendary ones.
Okay. So, once you accept that vulnerability is powerful, how do you structure this story? What makes a story effective in a sales conversation?
I break it down into three parts. I call them your three stories. First, your story, your personal journey. Talk about where you started, the challenges you faced, the moments you doubted yourself, and how you overcame. It's your why you do what you do. Second, your client story, the story of someone you helped. This shows the prospect that transformation isn't just theory, it's real and repeatable. And third, someone else's story, a colleague, leader, or another client whose story might resonate even more with your prospect. Having these three ready allows you to tailor your approach depending on who you're talking to and what they need to hear.
That makes sense. But what would you say to people listening that are new in sales and don't have a lot of stories or testimonials yet?
Great question. Everyone starts somewhere. If you're new, your story might focus on your why for getting into sales or the problem you're passionate about solving. It could be about your vision for your life and the lives you want to impact. Even your journey of learning and growing can inspire. As for client stories, you can share hypothetical or anonymized examples based on what you know works, always staying authentic. And third-party stories, those can come from teammates, mentors, or even success stories from your company's network.
So, even if you're early in your career, you can start building your story bank today.
Absolutely, and that's where the real work begins. Crafting your stories so they aren't just facts, but emotional experiences. You want your listener to feel your breakthrough, your relief, your excitement. Storytelling isn't about dumping information. It's about creating empathy.
How do you recommend our listeners practice that empathy in real sales conversations?
Start by really listening. When you listen, you learn what your prospect fears, hopes, or dreams about. Then you choose which story to tell that speaks directly to those emotions. It's not random, it's strategic. You're not just telling a story, you're telling their story with yourself as proof that change is possible.
That's a great mindset shift, that selling becomes less about you and more about them.
Exactly. And here's the ultimate truth. People don't buy because of logic. They buy because of emotion, hope, trust, connection. Your story creates that emotional bridge. It's the difference between a maybe and a yes.
Let's dig even deeper. How does mastering your story impact your confidence and consistency in sales?
When you own your story, you own your confidence. You're no longer dependent on a script or fancy tactics. You become the source of your own power. And that shows confidence attracts clients. And consistency comes naturally because you're not chasing tactics. You're grounded in who you are and what you've lived. That's sustainable success.
So it's not just about closing more sales, it's about becoming the kind of person who closes more sales.
Exactly right. Your mindset, your story, your authenticity, they combine to create unstoppable momentum. And the beauty is, this works across every industry, every product, every service. Because at the core, people are all the same. They want hope, they want proof. And when you're that proof, sales become a natural outcome.
This is some incredible stuff today. Before we close, what's one actionable step you'd challenge every salesperson to do after listening to this?
Simple but powerful. Write down your story, your real, raw journey. Then practice telling it until it feels natural, not rehearsed, but real. And commit to sharing it in your next sales conversation. Because once you tell your story, you give your prospect permission to believe their own story can change too.
That's a game changer. Folks listening, your story is your secret weapon. Own it, share it, live it. Abraham, thank you so much for this deep dive into the power of story.
Thanks, Mike. Remember, your story isn't just entertainment, it's hope, transformation, and your blueprint to success.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Blueprint Mindset. If this hit home for you, share it with your team or a friend who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep telling your story and keep making an impact.